these little videos for them. I was just testing my skills. And I thought I really knew it all. So I was like, okay, I have the confidence. Why can't I just do it by myself? And then it just gave me the confidence to, get started. And when we got married, we had a little bit of money that people, how you get gifts and cash in the wedding. That's how I used that opportunity to just pump it all into the business. And in the business, in the sense, like, I got an old computer, I got an old camera, and did not know how to use any of it. I knew the computer obviously because I was working on that, but the camera I didn't know. I didn't even have didn't have the right resources, and they didn't teach me that part. So I learned it by myself, literally just by trial and error. There was no other way. um, then it was just the passion that drove me every single day of my life. It was the passion that, why can't I get this? Why can't I do it the way I see it in the films? Or why is this look so different? Or why, why are these colors so different? And because I'm such a strong, like, I come from that background of watching movies, that really, I felt like was the driving force behind what I've done all these years, is because I still do. I watch movies and I'm learning, and shows, or good art, good photography. It's just that my eyes are I'm so triggered by visuals that I'm going to find a way to figure it out, and I'm going to find a way to learn it. Um, but that's it. That was my driving force. Most of the time it was, well, why can't I do it this way? Because the lighting looks so good, or why is the camera moving in this direction? And why do I see it? It was really a strong observation from a young age that I noticed, that kind of kept me on track. But then the observation, and that I kind of sharpened over the years, and then I realized that that's exactly what I needed to continue honing. So that's, I don't know if that was a ramble or a good intro or into my world. Did
No,
that
that was
answer?
awesome. Yes, definitely. And I think something that I draw a lot of inspiration from is that you were quite young when you decided to quit your job and start your own business, right? You
20,
were,
yeah. 20.
yeah, 20. So
Yeah.
so I guess the first question that comes to mind, you kind of addressed this, was like you took, like, financially, in the beginning, like what were the steps that you took to make, because I think it's like everyone has some sort of desire to start something, and sometimes a lot of things that hold them back are finances. Like,
Yeah.
what are some things that you did to kind of overcome those challenges? Like
Hustle,
making sure,
hustle.
okay.
Yeah, hustle. Right word is hustle. I didn't care that I was getting just $5 an hour. I was learning at that time. So at that point it was just like, let me do the due diligence of being there, because I really knew that I was being very excited and passionate. I was passionate about it. And I knew that I was getting some information, it was getting a lot of, like, there was no other way. There was no social media at that time for me to
Yeah.
learn. So this was good. It was because it was good investment of time to actually, get me started. So I would say in this day and age, it's easier. You can get a loan if you wanted to. You should be getting into that headspace right off the bat. You should be very strategic. You don't need to starve yourself. You have to get, whether it's like, I'm going to work full time, but then I'm going to carve some time out during the weekends to do this. Then yeah, you should do it. That's absolutely possible. You can be really, really good at what you do with your work, but also be strategic about a startup and dedicate time to that, and find partners who can help you and delegate. You can do it.
Hmm.
I just don't see that there is any kind of excuse to not start. I just don't see it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And so I would say, if you while you were starting up, what were some of the things that you did to kind of hustle with finances? So like, I know some people, they usually try and invest early on, or they have certain ways that they cut down on things that they save? Like I would say, like, is there anything that you would that's kind of like your go-to financial management strategy for yourself, at least earlier on in your
Uh, I
business?
was lucky because I was supported by Sid, so I didn't have to
Okay,
worry about food on the table, right?
right,
That's one thing I didn't have pressure for. But initially, when we both were married, we both had that pressure because
right.
he was paying his bill, his loans back,
Mm-hmm.
and from school and from credit cards, and you're always broke coming out of school.
Yeah.
You just have to do those things. And so yeah, that hustle is there where there were days I remember very, very clearly where I didn't know if I had enough to make that rent. It was
Yeah.
very cut, very, very short and cut. Both of us didn't know. We were just so dependent on those situations, but we made it through. Ashna, we really did just realize that, you know what, hustle is the only way. You have to open your income avenue streams at that
Mm.
time. I knew that, okay, editing was not the only way for me to cut, because initially I was just an editor. I was just actually just cutting for people, right? I would get the footage from one company. And so I got out of the studio first and I said, I'll start on my own, but who's going to give me business? That wasn't
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. Nobody, just who knows Mili? Oh,
Yeah.
here's my wedding. No, I couldn't do that. And so I ended up editing my own video to use as portfolio to sell to clients. And that also didn't just kind of happen. I had a partner who had a much bigger network. I didn't have a
Mm.
network. I didn't even know anybody. So she had a little bit of a network, and I knew that she would be able to get me through.
Cool.
She was photography, I was video, and we both kind of went in together and said, we're the new face of, the Indian wedding, the girls who understand, what your vibe is, what your aesthetic is, and we're young, and everybody else was old. So we played the ageist card, like, we're young, we get you, these guys don't get you.
Yeah.
And so don't waste your money there, we'll understand you, and we'll get you the product. So we did some hard, I was going to people's house, Ashna, and hustling and pitching to them. I literally remember going to, and it was actually the Pakistani community that really opened their arms and embraced me. That was the first kind of that was the first market that literally said, I want this girl. And then everybody wants them. So, but I went to their houses to pitch my business and my work face to face. That's how it happened.
That's how you
Now
did
you
it.
don't need to do that because you've got social media, you've got Instagram. So, coming back to the financial thing, you need to figure out those avenues, how you're different, and you need to know where that loop is, that missing piece of
Mm-hmm.
puzzle that you can fit into very nicely. And you get aggressive, you do get aggressive. If you have to call, you call. If you have to cold email, you email. You send out your work to people and you say you're the best, you know your game, and you put it out in the universe. And then if it doesn't happen, I think it then we'll see. But I mean, I hustled that way.
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on this, but you talked about networking, and I think that's super important as well when especially when you're first starting out. You need to meet as many people as you can. So,
Initiative, you better take initiative. I still do
right,
it. I write emails to a lot of people who I want to work with, but you've got to be very purposeful and intentional about this. You need to know who you want to work with. You don't want to send out emails to 500 people thinking, oh, I'm just going to wait and see who responds. And no, you need to know who is your strategic partner and who is going to be the right collaboration for you, who will be the key person to help you network, who will get you from point A to point B. So you have to chalk it out like you need that roadmap, and it needs more strategy, needs more thorough research, and then it works. It really does work.
yeah, and I guess I think my mom has a question that I'm
Sure,
seeing
sure,
has
sure.
raised her hand, but before we move to that, I just had one more question for you. So when you're um I guess before you were saying you were actually going in person to meet people and pitch your idea and your business.
Mhm.
Today, now the climate is very different. Now we're in a pandemic, so it's even more different. And social media is such an effective tool for so many people trying to start out something new. What has been, I guess, have there been any challenges with networking when it comes to this shift? Like, do you think that it's now
No,
easier or probably more,
it's
it's better
it
or?
it's not better, but people are very open to talking with you on Zoom, or they're open to having, they're at home so they
Mm-hmm.
can carve out time. It's people who are homeschooling usually, they have a tough life, I feel. But um if you're working with people who are at home working and they don't have that additional stress of homeschooling, they can carve out time to listen to you.
Right.
They will spend that extra time giving you. It just needs to be, like I said, intentional and purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have that clarity. Once you have clarity and you write it with full intention, like, this is, I love what you do, I really like this aspect of this, and I really would love to pitch this idea and see how we can collaborate together and see if we align and sync. So yeah, that's really the key to this, that you can
Yeah.
send out these emails and you can send out pitches, and don't call anyone, but definitely do lots of emails.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so I'm gonna open the floor. I think my mom and Ida had their hands up, so
Sure.
you guys can unmute yourself and yeah, you can take the floor.
Okay, shall I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Hey, so Mili, what made you were working on documentaries. So what made you shift to weddings and Indian weddings? And I have two sort of questions for you. And the other one is, you've now moved on to fashion, right? I love those Instagram photos and things you put out, but yeah. So what's
So
the
I was
shift?
in I was in the space of being a production coordinator with the documentary, the organization that made documentaries. But when it sort of, I think weddings, just, it never clicked. But it was just by chance. When I was in Chicago and I wasn't getting any jobs, I thought, let me try something. And I saw a sign for looking for a studio manager, and that's when I entered, and then they opened up their world to me. So the wedding was more like the entrepreneurial kind of mindset for me, that I'm like, this, I needed money. I needed to sustain myself somehow. And I thought, this is something that I can do. And I love being a boss. So that's something I thought, that why not go into that channel? So it seemed like a low hanging fruit at that point, Manisha. That really just felt like a low hanging fruit. Otherwise, I wouldn't have, anything else would have felt like I was exercising too much energy, or, trying too hard. So this felt like, yeah, so I can do it. It just felt like I just need to work out this, and then I'll be fine. And that's how I got started. But in fashion, I think fashion is hard. Fashion is hard. Even now, when I'm trying to pivot and I'm thinking about commercial work and brand film and whatnot, it is really, really hard, because I've spent 15 years trying to be a wedding photographer. I've not had that experience of being a fashion photographer. So, the work and the skill set is there, but the network is not there. The network and trying to have access to publications, or trying to get editorials, or, like, having business and client coming my way, that's not there yet. I have to make the effort. I have to start from scratch all over again, but hopefully with strategy in place. So.
Awesome. And then Ida, if you'd like to go ahead and ask your question.
Thanks. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. And
Sure.
I'm sorry about not having a video. It's been a
No
long day, so
problem.
I'm not looking my best.
No
I'm in
problem.
Dar, sweating it out with no power.
Oh.
Yes. So one of the things that fascinates me and it inspires me is the journey you've gone through, because being not only a daughter and a wife now, but having to navigate that space. And I know you touched on it a little bit in terms of some of the decisions you had to make. But, and I have to say, so for the last, like yesterday, I stumbled on the Bollywood Wives, so that's back of mind at the moment. To give you just a snapshot, our family, we're Africans, Black Africans, but we have Indian relatives. And this, I think, is the first everyone is hearing this. It's understanding the cultural aspect, because you can photograph weddings, but there's a lot of other aspects that happen with the couples, with the families, etc. How do you navigate that to make sure that you're true? Because you're looking through the lens and you see things, and many people who are on the other side of the lens don't see. How do you navigate that? And if there are any examples of the different cultural perspectives that you see?
I think, I mean, being in the wedding industry and first of all, studying Indian weddings and understanding different cultures, that whole background and everything, I feel like I'm born to it. I'm given that. I've seen it. The exposure has been there very much from the start. Love for movies and love for fashion, and in our space, and then seeing it in the wedding. I think I've really, so I'm not sure how to answer that question, because I feel like I've not really had to navigate that aspect too much. It was so much within my scope and my blood that I didn't need to. I feel like I was seeing it more than I needed to see it. So when I'm actually shooting a wedding, I'm on overdrive. My eyes are literally on overdrive, because I can see these stories unfold in front of my eyes and beyond. So I know I have to give a certain set of, expected photographs to my client, because they're looking for moments, they're looking for a certain kind of portraiture, and they're looking for certain kind of documentation. But beyond that, I see stories that are, I could see things that they never really would think about. They never really were even. So, I mean, example, I could say, I was shooting this Gujarati wedding, and I saw how the mom, I loved the mom so much, and I felt like she literally became my muse and my subject for that time period, because she had this beautiful Banarasi, weave that she wore when she had got married. So she was wearing her wedding sari. That to me was a story. That right there was a story for me. And she had these. She's an engineer. She was wearing specs, and she was just sitting there. And I was like, I really need to do a portrait series with her. Her name was Sonia. And I mean, just randomly, I thought, this is my time. This is what I really wanted to photograph. I wanted to photograph, these women who, they own so much of who they are, and you don't get to see them. And I feel like whether they're carrying their fashion, or they're carrying their, the years of experience and wisdom that they have, it's there in their face, it's there in their attitude. And I wanted to portray that. So I took the time out and I carved it, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do Sonia portraits right now. And I really wanted to bring that personality and that imagery out of so I mean, it's not like for me, I'm just like focused on the bride and that's it. I'm looking at it from multiple lenses. I'm looking at it from how I'm 40, and I'm thinking, I want to see more women in their 40, my type of women in their 40. And I wanted, like how you said, the housewives, the Bollywood housewives. I like that connection that you brought up, because yes, it was nice to see that. It was nice to see what these women stand for, what these women are thinking, what their challenges are, and what they share in terms of their business and how they've grown and whatnot. So I look at it from that lens too when I'm shooting a wedding and I'm seeing people, and I feel like that's another responsibility that I have to actually capture that as well when I'm putting it out. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think
No,
I
you
did.
have, and you've actually excited me, because I'm hoping we'll see you soon behind the lens doing a documentary on the lives of those women, because I think we miss out on the
Yeah.
life of our mothers as well, because
Yeah.
it's the mothers, it's the aunties, it's the grandmothers.
Yeah.
We forget that these are the women who have brought us to this stage.
Yeah.
And if you listen, like for me as a Rotarian, a lot of the women in Rotary bring so much to the table, but we
Yep.
never actually go beyond the fact that just a Rotarian. There's so many
Yeah.
handles they're dealing with. It's your mom, you're this, you're that,
Yeah.
you're the cultural aspects. And it's not just about, one of the things I've actually had to appreciate of my relatives who are half Indian in Tanzania is what they also go through. This is one of the things we don't realize as Black Africans, is that there's a lot of negotiations right across the board. And it's so important. So your documentary lens is something that actually, as I've been reading about you just before this, or as you were
Yeah.
talking,
Yeah.
you know, it's even when you go
There's
to the
scope there. There's really, you're
yeah, when
right.
you
There's so much
fashion
scope
pits,
there, and the
yeah,
representation is missing. Absolutely, you've got
exactly.
that right. The
Because you've
representation
got
is missing.
that, you've got,
Yeah.
you know, I remember and I know I'm rambling, remember my very first time in India, and I've only been in India twice. And I remember my dad telling me, oh, you need to prepare yourself for this. And I went to tribal Bhopal, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know this is how it works. So I know there's so much, and just even from friends here.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying pressure, go do
No,
this.
absolutely not. No,
But I can hear what you're
I
saying,
see
and
it.
it's exciting me.
I think it's exciting as well, because I mean, really, this is, you know, I'm not just a wedding photographer, and I say this to a lot of people because I'm like, my head is in I literally have a very multi-pronged approach to everything in life. That's how I am. So I see all these lenses. It's just hard to figure out when and how. Those are tough situations for me, and I really have to kind of address it literally by like a plan with a roadmap and everything. But I've been discussing these representation ideas, you know, with lots of women. I've been talking to women who are based in India, a lot of my close friends who talk about, Millie, how about documenting the lives of a lot of these women who are, you know, they hold these dynastic kind of positions, and they have so much
Mm.
power, and they really have you know, a beautiful kind of story to them, but it's like, it's just not there in photographs. You know, we just have, what do we have to look at when we look at women from a certain era? Like we look at Gayatri Devi, for example, we look at
Yeah.
all these Maharanis and the lives of them, and do we have anything from this generation and from this century that we can look at in terms of photographs? So we don't. And I think it's not even just the photograph, but or even like a book or an essay or something. We don't have that. And we've done a lot. We've seen a different time. We've conquered a lot through these years. So I feel like that's definitely missing, the documentation of women, South Asian women, from different parts of
In
life, different.
particular, South Asian women in Tanzania, we have
Yes,
not.
yes, yes.
One of
You've
the
got
things
none.
that, and
Absolutely.
this is my last point, one of the things that really threw me off a month ago is that Molimi Nyerere, we always talk about his secretary or whoever was dealing with his documentation was
Yeah,
from Europe.
yeah,
But this is the lady, the Indian lady who died in Geneva. Nobody talks about her. And she was more instrumental than
yeah.
anyone else. And no one talks about her. And sorry, guys, that I've jumped on the bandwagon and taken it segue, but Mila, thank you so much for sharing. And I think at this
No
point, I'll
problem.
try and be
I
quiet.
really loved, really loved your insight, and I'm so glad you actually brought that up, because it's one of the things that I have been thinking about as well. So
Yeah. And just before I finish, there's a lot of space, even in Tanzania, not money making, but space where we can have conversations.
yeah, no, I'm open to that. I'm
All
very
right.
much open to that. Thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ida. Those were some really, really good questions.
Very good questions. Yeah.
I think one other person had their hand up, but now it's not there. I want to give that
Hi,
person a
Ashna.
chance.
Can I come
Oh,
in?
yes,
President
please.
Hi,
Ashna.
Shamila.
Hi,
Yes, please go
Mili.
ahead.
Oh my God, to all, it's so nice to see you. And when you told me, Mili, you're 40, it makes me feel very old. Makes me feel very, very old. I'm sure Manisha is
Mila, you're
also turning.
young. You're young.
Yeah,
Come on.
Manisha is
You
also
all are young
turning
at
there.
heart, Shamila, man. You all are very young at heart. So I don't think I
Yeah.
want to.
Now, for all the viewers and all the people who have joined in, I just want to say I saw Milene when she was a little kid. She had Sunny, her dog was called Sunny, and ever since then, I saw her love for Bollywood. I never knew it could materialize in this way. I mean, that's the most beautiful thing, Mili. You have, when people say, you use something that you really love to make that your business, you are totally an example for that. I love a lot of things, but nothing has made money for me in that way. And for you in this case, you've loved movies, you loved everything that you saw in the frame, you're using it and you're making money and you're extremely successful. Manisha keeps telling me how successful you are. I keep every video of yours, I actually watch and watch it just to see the way you've captured the every emotion. So very, very proud of you, Millie. Very proud of you. And President Ashna, I'm very proud of you too this evening.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Shamila.
you. Ashna is going to be the flag bearer of filmmaking. So
No.
I'm there right behind her to push on that as well.
Thank you so much. If no one else has any questions, I had a couple more. But let me know if anyone else would like to speak. No? Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead. So, Millie, I actually had two different segues of questions, and you can choose
Yep.
which one to answer first. The first one is, you kind of touched on this. It was kind of like that, and I think Shamila Auntie brought this up too, is that you have a lot of people have lots of passions and things like that, but then to make money and make it into a business requires a lot of different fundamental things to make that happen. And
Yep.
obviously, one of the main things that we talked about earlier was the hustle. You need to continue and keep at it. And so, what I would say, like, if you had to give yourself advice today, like your younger self when you had just started, to give yourself advice at that time when you were first starting, what are the top 3 things you wish you had known at that time to start your business and to make like your passion into something that makes you money?
So because I was young, I was not wise. So there's a lot of the wisdom is really coming through this learned process of failing and bouncing back, ups and downs. So I would say the first thing that I would tell myself is trust yourself. Absolutely do not, because if you don't even trust yourself, you can't even trust the mistrust of yourself. So you basically are paralyzed. So you really need to know how to do that. You need to be a great decision maker. You need to make fast decisions. And so your gut, your instinct has to be solid. If you are solid here and you're clear in your mind and you're focused, there's no stopping you. You should not be doing analysis paralysis. And I used to do that. Too much of maximization, too much of analysis. If this happens and this will happen, no, none of that. That's one thing I feel like I still have to teach myself. Don't get into that mode, because you're not there. It's just energy drowning kind of situations where you're just burning your energy. Nothing comes out of it. It's better you act, and you act fast. You fail fast. So you try again. You know that there are going to be 100 blocks of problems that need to kind of get solved. Don't beat yourself about it on the first failure that you get. You just have to keep going, and that's it. It's the process of momentum and process of going through all the fails quicker, faster. Then you realize, oh, okay, I have more. You'll have more endurance, and you'll be prepared for that as well. You should be prepared for that. Like, also, maximization is a luxury. if I have this, then I'll do that. If I have this, then I'll do this. Or if I need to have all these ducks lined up, and then, nah, that's also a luxury. You don't have luxury when you're an entrepreneur. You have to just hustle, get the first gig in, do your best at it, be very clear in your mind, and then just keep going. Otherwise, that, I think, or anything that, you have to be good at understanding what are your low hanging fruits and what are those tasks that are going to take away all your energy, those energy vampire tasks, and if you're going to say yes to everything, you're going to drown. So you need to know when to say no, when to say yes, who to say yes, who are your players, who are your partners, who are your collaborators. All these things are important as a I think, and I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that, and I also didn't know how to navigate emotions. There's a whole emotional growth, there's a whole personal growth to this too, because you didn't just nobody taught you that in school. I didn't get that taught in school, and being the only child, I mean, I was given a lot of privileges too. So I didn't know how to handle competition. I did not know how to handle somebody cutting you on your price or leg pulling you, and any business or any industry is going to have that. You will have somebody who will badmouth you, leg pull you, compete with you, copy you, copy and take this idea and do it better and put it out in the market. It's going to happen. So you just need to know how to, emotionally, you really need to know how to navigate through all of that and become super strong and just understand that there's no um, there's no easy way, but having that endurance and going forward with it, being stay true to the course, straight, and have a little bit of some tunnel vision is important. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that was awesome. And then another question I had, and this is kind of leaning onto what Ida said, was asking about earlier, but since you're also navigating like fashion and lifestyle concepts, I feel like representation has increasingly become a topic of conversation that's brought up a lot. And I think um, like you have the South Asian voice, and that's something that you're pushing to represent. So I have like two leaning questions towards those. What is your I want to see, like, have you experienced or are you seeing improvement in representation, and and I guess what has been your role in that? And another question I have is kind of on the flip side, is that have there been opportunities that have come across your way where you feel like you may not be the voice for that, and where you've decided that maybe somebody else would better represent some sort like that story? Like, has there been, like, how do you navigate that representation aspect? Because we all come with different perspectives, and we can come representing our own perspective and something that resonates with us. But have you encountered situations where you may not be able to give a voice to something, and how have you navigated like that area?
I've not been in that situation where I feel like I'm not going to be able to give voice to it, because I think I can straddle a lot. So I feel like I can, and my voice has sharpened so intensely that I know that when it comes to, if you were to, if I were to be given a music video for a band that I don't know anything about, I would still be able to get into that space and be able to create something. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I can answer that question. I think I don't feel that I'm in that position, but I can tell you this, that yes, representation is lacking.
Mm.
It's, I don't know if it's improving. I'm not sure, Ashna, because I myself struggle with it quite a bit. When I look around in my industry and I'm seeing, for example, I shoot Canon for the past 15 years, but Canon doesn't recognize an Indian face here in US. They don't recognize an Indian face, a photographer. They recognize everybody else, but they don't see this community because it's too small. It's not their fault, but it's too small and it's too niche, and so you have to make the effort. You have to make the effort to reach out and to talk to them and to try. And so US is definitely hard. I don't know how else to explain it, but there is a lot of, when we're looking at weddings, for example, and we're looking at top publications of weddings that happen here in US, they still want to see white centric weddings. So that's the reality. It is what it is. And they will allow some color to come through once in a while, but it's a token black wedding, token brown wedding, and that's how it is. So
Yeah.
I know the editors. I understand the way that it works. The market is different. They're talking to an American audience, and to American weddings. So the gowns are important. The church, or the style of the wedding and all of that is very important to them. So
Cool.
yeah, it's hard to break that
Yeah.
barrier, but we have to keep trying.
And I think also when I think of representation and media and creativity, I think Instagram comes to mind a lot for me, especially now. I think especially through the pandemic, I've seen so many people kind of get really viral or go really viral on Instagram, and like they've been able to boost their businesses and things like that. So I guess what has been your experience? Because I think you started at a time when Instagram wasn't influential. I don't even know if Instagram was around at that time, but it has become a tool that a lot of businesses are interested in. People are hiring influencers so that they can push their brand more. So I would say, like, since most of us here are from Tanzania and we are running businesses, but we're also starting to use social media as a platform to get out there more. Um, what has been your experience in navigating that? And do you have any, I guess, like, what are your go-to, I don't want to say tricks, but like, what do you do to capture an audience um, on like social media platforms in general?
I'm very odd that way because I didn't play by the rule books. I didn't know the rule book that much, and then I didn't bother to understand the rule book because I felt like I was too rebellious in that space, and I was like, I will just do what I like, and I will share what I feel. And I tried that whole, years of just posting things that I felt were just organic and real to me. And it spoke to me, and I was just happy in that space. I didn't want to hashtag. I didn't want to try and promote. I didn't want to try and campaign. I didn't want to market. I didn't want a PR person. Um, Having said that, that didn't work. Okay, that didn't work at all. It wasn't something that is. I mean, maybe with some people, organic works. Now maybe it works, but you need a tribe. That's how I think is important to have success in Instagram. You need a tribe um, who will support you. So you need to establish that first, because you're kind of releasing content that is valuable or is informative or is bringing inspiration or is doing something to those people. It's speaking to those people. Then those people just come somehow. So my tribe would be maybe photographers. That would be one tribe that I'm speaking to, because it's relative to them, whatever I do. So I didn't have to bring them into me. I didn't have to do that. But because I am a photographer, they would know about me somehow. They would see my work. And then, so you do need to speak to that. And then you have to build and support that. You also need to support other people who are in that space, other filmmakers, other editors, other artists, other writers. And you have to be supporting each other. And when I say supporting each other, authentically supporting each other, you like that person's work genuinely. So I think that Instagram wants you to spend time getting to know people. Instagram wants you to socialize. Instagram wants you to have parties with each other and collaborate. That's how they want you to set your business up so that you can be successful in Instagram. If you're not doing all those things, it's hard. It's definitely hard. But you can try, and you can stay if your work is extremely unique and authentic, people will somehow find you. But if you want to be on the faster track, then this is the way. And then eventually, when you have funds, you should, not for Instagram, but I mean, you should have a team. You should have somebody helping you with at least PR. I would say PR outreach is something that is always overlooked. So I would say that's one thing you can, spend time and money on, and it would be very useful to get them to kind of um, speak, reach out on your behalf to other brands, other collaborations and influencers or whatever, and see how you guys kind of align together. um, and that will really help for sure, but it comes at a price.
Awesome. And then I think Ida, you have your hand up, so go ahead. And you can take the floor.
It's more a comment, and it's oh my
Okay.
God, Nella, it's a case of wow. It is hard being different, and that's why my inspiration is like wow. It takes a lot to come from a very privileged background, and we're all from privileged backgrounds, we know that. But to walk away and say, this is what I'm going to do because this is my passion, takes gumption in ways that, look, it makes my tummy curl. And I go to the loo a lot because of it, sorry. So I admire that. I admire that you're honest about that, because it's one of the things, and I can just say that coming from parents who literally are from academia and living in Tanzania and living the way I do, people always say, oh, Ida, this is the reason why you're successful, is because your parents are successful. It's like, no, actually it's because I'm doing what I believe in, and they did what they believe in. So what I wanted to say is, girl, 100% behind you. And so
thank
when
you
I
so
know you soon and not on Instagram, it's because I'm not so sure I'd ever be able to do what you've done. So I absolutely say kudos to you.
Thank you so
Well
much. But
done.
I want to
And
give all the
more
credit to
so.
my husband now, because now he's the one who has really
Of
given
course
me
you have.
balls.
You still live in the same house, right? With the barking dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I really, it's Sid who's made me kind of strong, and has kind of pushed me to have those balls as well, because he is a really, really good support. Without support, you really can't, you'd give up, and you'd
That's
leave
true.
your journey halfway. So supports are very, very important. Those
It's so true.
pillars
If
of
it's not your
strength.
parents, it's your partner.
It's my mom too. I would say it's my mom too, because mom is another very strong
Oh, she
pillar. She
looks
doesn't.
feisty. She looks
Yeah,
very feisty. As
mom.
both your mothers, actually, your mom too. Yeah, I have a mom. I know. No, but I'm being honest in terms of, I think one of the things that we don't talk about and celebrate is the fact that it doesn't matter whether you're from Asia descent or African descent. If you've got mothers or fathers or partners who say, you know what, I'm with you, or friends, it doesn't work because you can't do it on your own. And I think that's
You
one of the
can't.
things we need to remember to celebrate, is all
Yeah.
I needed to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
I 100% stand by that. Yeah, you need these pillars of support, and very level-headed pillars. Very level-headed
Yes,
pillars
they
who
have to
will.
be level-headed,
Yeah,
because
they
they've
have to
got to
be.
call us out on our BS, remember?
Yeah. They need to be able to. They need to be able to know the real you. They need to be able to know and decipher when you're emotional and when
Yeah.
you're, logical and critical. So they
Yeah.
need to know those things. And I think Sid and
And
my
then
mom
also
feel
just to
that.
say, you know what, we don't understand, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what being an entrepreneur needs. That's what that human being who's doesn't color within the lines. That's what we need, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good for you.
Thank you
I'm
so
proud.
much, Aida.
I don't know
Thank
you, but
you.
I'm proud.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that.
That was really nice. And on that note, I think we're at time today. So
Awesome.
I'm going to call the meeting to a close. But if you guys have any further questions, maybe you can message them to me and I can send them over to Mili and we can kind of communicate that way. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I hope you have a good night or rest of the day, depending on where you are. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashna.
Thank
I
you so
hope everybody enjoyed this session, and I hope I didn't ramble and I was giving enough good takeaways from this. And feel free to ask anytime.
You
Mili, it
were.
was good to hear you. Very, very good to hear you.
Thank you,
I
Manisha.
yeah, I'm so proud of you. And Hitesh was saying, oh, that's Percy. Okay.
Coco.
Hitesh was saying that I took pictures of Millie when she was 1 year old. Your first birthday pictures he took. So now my 50th wedding anniversary.
I have to take your photos, yeah.
Yes. I'm
Must be
booking
done
you
the
from
favor.
now.
Okay. Done, Manisha. So nice to see you all. It was so nice, honestly. Yeah.
Yes.
And if I can help in any way with representation, I love what Ida spoke about. I think it's definitely planted a seed in my head, and I would love to explore that for sure. I think we need to bring that. We need to bring that story out, and we need to. We need more awareness in that aspect for sure.
Perfect. So we look forward to seeing you here one day, very soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Ashna, Manisha.
Thank you so much, Mili.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.